He didn't change his life overnight. There was no sudden breakthrough, no dramatic turning point, no moment where everything magically fell into place. Instead, something far more subtle happened, something almost invisible to the outside world. Day after day, he repeated the same thoughts, the same words, the same images in his mind. At first, nothing changed. His results were the same. His environment looked identical. His bank account didn't move, but something deeper was shifting, something beneath the surface. You see, what most people don't realize is that repetition is not just a habit, it's a force. A quiet, persistent power that reshapes your subconscious mind, rewires your beliefs, and ultimately determines your reality. He began to notice small differences. A new idea here, a new opportunity there. His reactions changed. His confidence grew. The way he saw himself began to evolve. And then, almost without warning, his results started to reflect that inner transformation. More money, better relationships, a stronger sense of purpose. It wasn't luck. It wasn't the coincidence. It was repetition applied deliberately, consistently, and with emotional intensity. This is the principle that Bob Proctor dedicated his life to teaching. That your life is not controlled by your circumstances, but by the patterns you repeatedly impress upon your subconscious mind. The truth is simple but not easy. You become what you repeatedly think about. And if you can understand how repetition truly works, you can begin to reprogram your entire life from the inside out. Bob Proctor often said that the biggest problem people face is not a lack of potential. It's a lack of understanding of how their mind actually works. Most people live their lives reacting to external conditions, believing that results come from effort alone, or from luck, or from circumstances beyond their control. But according to Proctor, that belief is fundamentally flawed. Your results are not created outside of you, they are created within you through the repetition of thought patterns that shape your subconscious programming. The subconscious mind does not argue. It does not question. It simply accepts whatever is impressed upon it repeatedly. This means that whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly programming yourself through your thoughts, your words, and your internal dialogue. If you repeatedly think about limitation, fear, and doubt, your subconscious mind accepts those ideas as truth and your life begins to reflect them. On the other hand, if you deliberately repeat thoughts of abundance, confidence, and possibility, your subconscious begins to align your behavior and perception with those ideas. This is not about positive thinking in a superficial sense. It's about understanding a fundamental law of the mind. Repetition leads to internalization, and internalization leads to manifestation. The challenge, however, is that repetition requires persistence. It requires discipline. It requires you to continue reinforcing new ideas even when your external reality hasn't caught up yet. And that's where most people stop. They expect immediate results, and when they don't see them, they revert back to old patterns. But Proctor emphasized that change happens first internally before it ever becomes visible externally. In this video, you will learn how repetition truly works, why it is the key to reprogramming your subconscious mind, and how you can use it intentionally to transform your results in every area of your life. To understand repetition, you must first understand the role of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is like a vast storage system that records everything you repeatedly think, feel, and experience. It does not differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. It simply responds to repetition. This means that every repeated thought becomes a pattern. Over time, these patterns form beliefs, and those beliefs dictate your behavior, your decisions, and ultimately your results. The key insight here is that your current life is the result of past repetition. The thoughts you have entertained repeatedly have become your internal programming, and that programming is now running automatically. Most people are unaware of this process. They believe they are consciously choosing their actions, but in reality, they are reacting based on subconscious conditioning. Repetition is how that conditioning was created, and it is also how it can be changed. Repetition works because it bypasses conscious resistance. The conscious mind may question new ideas, especially if they contradict existing beliefs. But when an idea is repeated consistently, it begins to penetrate deeper layers of the mind. Eventually, the subconscious accepts it as truth. This is why habits are so powerful. They are simply repeated actions reinforced over time. The same principle applies to thoughts. A repeated thought becomes a dominant idea, and a dominant idea influences your perception of reality. This is why two people can experience the same situation differently. Their internal programming filters their interpretation. Repetition shapes that filter. Not all repetition is equal. Emotion amplifies repetition. When you attach strong emotion to an idea, it is impressed more deeply into the subconscious. This is why traumatic experiences leave lasting impressions. But it also means you can consciously use emotion to reinforce positive ideas. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools for this. When you imagine a desired outcome with emotion, you accelerate the programming process. The subconscious responds to feeling more than logic. This is why affirmations alone may not work if they lack emotional intensity. You must feel the idea as if it is already real. That feeling acts as a signal to the subconscious, and through repetition, that signal becomes a belief. One of the biggest challenges in reprogramming is breaking old patterns. Old thoughts will continue to appear automatically. This is normal. They are the result of past repetition. The key is not to fight them, but to replace them. Every time an old thought appears, introduce a new one. Do this consistently. Over time, the new pattern will begin to dominate. This process requires awareness. You must become conscious of your thinking. Without awareness, change is impossible. Repetition of new ideas is the path to transformation. Beliefs are not fixed, they are formed. And anything that is formed can be reformed. To create a new belief, you must repeat a new idea consistently. At first, it may feel unnatural. That is because it contradicts existing programming. But persistence is the key. The subconscious learns through repetition. Over time, the new idea becomes familiar, and what is familiar becomes accepted. Eventually, it becomes a belief. And once it is a belief, it begins to influence your actions automatically. This is how transformation occurs from the inside out. Repetition is not only mental, it must be behavioral. Your actions should reflect your new programming. This creates alignment. When thoughts and actions are aligned, results accelerate. If you repeat an idea but act in contradiction, progress slows. Consistency between thought and action is critical. Small actions, repeated daily, create momentum. Momentum reinforces belief, and belief strengthens action. This creates a powerful cycle, a cycle that moves you toward your desired results. Repetition fuels that cycle. The final piece of the puzzle is persistence. Repetition requires time. The subconscious does not change instantly. It changes gradually through consistent reinforcement. This is where many people give up. They do not see immediate results, and they assume the process is not working. But change is happening beneath the surface. Just like a seed growing underground, you must trust the process. Continue the repetition, and eventually the results will appear. Repetition is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It does not provide instant gratification, but it is one of the most powerful forces available to you. The life you are living today is the result of what you have repeatedly told yourself in the past, whether consciously or unconsciously. And the life you will live tomorrow will be determined by what you choose to repeat starting today. This is the essence of Bob Proctor's teaching. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the product of your conditioning. But that conditioning is not permanent. It can be changed. And the tool for that change is repetition. Not occasional effort, not temporary motivation, but consistent, deliberate repetition of new ideas, new beliefs, and new self. If you commit to this process, If you persist through the initial discomfort, if you continue even when results are not yet, Visibu will begin to see transformation. It will start internally. In your thoughts, in your feelings, in your self image, and eventually it will reflect externally in your results, your opportunities, and your life. The question is not whether repetition works. The question is, what are you repeating every day?